For those who are not in the Hollywood world, what is wrong with her taking over the film?
I've never seen it before in my 30 plus year career in Hollywood. And an executive producer is below a producer in the film world. An executive producer signed up to be an executive producer, and that's it. As the time progressed in this film, she decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team.
In the latest twist of Hollywood's never-ending legal saga, Blake Lively has unexpectedly taken center stage in a courtroom drama that could rival any of her on-screen performances. Known for her composed and polished image, the actress reportedly lost her patience with her own legal team after a string of disastrous missteps turned an already chaotic case into an even bigger debacle.
This footage, which appears in the finished version film It Ends With Us, only in this brief slow-motion montage, appears to show the two stars discussing how to play the scene as they slow dance. Baldoni's team says the 3 takes of this scene, reportedly shot in May 2023, show that what took place on set doesn't match claims of sexual harassment that Lively made in a legal complaint last month. According to the complaint, while filming a slow dance scene, Baldoni was, quote, caressing Miss Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. In the raw footage released by the director's attorney, the two stars can be heard talking about production details while playing to the camera as a couple in love. The complaint says Baldoni, quote, dragged his lips from her ear and down to her neck as he said, "It smells so good." Baldoni's representatives say that the take proves it didn't happen.
Well, it's not that. It's my body makeup.
Lively's legal team firing back in a statement, quote, Justin Baldoni and his lawyer may hope that this latest stunt will get ahead of the damaging evidence against him, but the video itself is damning. Lively's representatives say that the footage corroborates her account of what happened, arguing that it shows Baldoni, quote, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, flicking her lip with his thumb, caressing her, telling her how good she smells, and talking with her out of character, adding that no woman should have to take defensive measures to avoid being touched by their employer without their consent.
What began as a straightforward legal dispute has rapidly unraveled into a whirlwind of accusations, counterclaims, and high-stakes courtroom blunders. Just when it seemed the drama had reached its peak, Blake Lively's legal team found a way to make things even worse. Now, instead of focusing on her case against Justin Baldoni, Lively is forced to contend with her own lawyers stumbling through a high-profile battle. The courtroom has transformed into a stage where reputations are on the line, alliances are crumbling, and an unpredictable legal showdown has left everyone wondering whether justice will prevail, or if it's all just a spectacle.
The drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has now escalated into a full-blown legal battle, with both stars suing each other over a tangled web of claims that revolve around their collaboration on the 2024 film It Ends With Us. Lively, known for her roles in Gossip Girl and A Simple Favor, claimed that Baldoni, the film's director, tried to destroy her career through a smear campaign after she brought forth allegations of sexual harassment and a hostile work environment against him. On the flip side, Baldoni says Lively went too far by exerting control over the production, threatening to withhold promotion unless her demands were met. He also argues that she falsely portrayed their professional relationship to the public, tarnishing his reputation. And while Lively is suing Baldoni for sexual harassment, retaliation, and false slight invasion of privacy, among other claims, Baldoni is countering with a defamation and civil extortion lawsuit, claiming that Lively not only made false allegations against him, but weaponized them to force him into complying with her demands.
The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has all the makings of a Hollywood blockbuster: serious accusations, fierce denials, and a supporting cast only adding to the chaos. But lately, the real scene stealers in this fiasco have been Lively's own lawyers, whose relentless missteps have transformed the entire case into a full-blown disaster.
Moments ago, the judge overseeing their federal case in New York, Judge Lyman, ruled on the former B-list actress's request for an additional layer of protection. The unliftable Blake was not happy with the standard protective order in the case. She wanted an attorney's eyes only designation. And the judge has granted that. Congrats to Taylor Swift. Of the judge's ruling, a spokesperson for Delulu says, quote, "Today, the court rejected the Wayfarer party's objections and entered the protections needed to ensure the free flow of discovery material without any risk of witness intimidation or harm to any individual's security. With this order in place, Ms. Lively will move forward in the discovery process to obtain even more of the evidence that will prove her claims in court."
It all began when Blake Lively accused Justin Baldoni of serious misconduct during the filming of It Ends With Us, claiming the set fostered a toxic environment filled with inappropriate behavior no actor should have to endure. But Baldoni didn't just deny the allegations. He fought back with a staggering $400 million defamation lawsuit, pulling Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, into the fray. He accused the couple of orchestrating a smear campaign to destroy his reputation, escalating what could have been a straightforward legal dispute into an all-out war.
Blake Lively is accusing Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment, followed by an attempted PR takedown of her to cover his own ass from people finding out what he did to her. In an article titled, "We Can Bury Anyone," Blake Lively heroically shared her story, and the world was on her side because it looked like she was just trying to take down a predator in Hollywood. So Justin Baldoni and his ace lawyer launched an all-cylinder fire attack to clear his name, and he started by suing the New York Times, saying that article was just published because it was paid for by Ryan Reynolds, and it was a multi-layered scheme planned out by Blake and Ryan to take down Justin. And I think it's pretty common knowledge that the mainstream media will lie on behalf of their powerful friends or anyone who pays them off to say certain things. But this will be tough because the New York Times has never lost a lawsuit in their life, but doesn't just release some very piping hot information that seemingly proves that Blake and Ryan Reynolds were colluding with the New York Times for months.
This is where Lively's legal team really started dropping the ball. In an effort to protect her privacy, they requested a court order to keep certain documents, mainly her private messages with celebrity friends, out of the public eye. First, it seemed like a victory when the judge granted the request, but there was a catch. Anything used in the trial could still be made public. In other words, those private conversations might still see the light of day. So much for damage control.
We plan to release every single text messages between the two of them. We want the truth to be out there. We want the documents to be out there. We want people to make their determination based on receipts.
Justin Baldoni is firing back after Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against the actor, accusing him of unprofessional and sexually inappropriate behavior on the set of It Ends With Us. She also accused him of coordinating a smear campaign.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no.
Baldoni is now suing the New York Times after the paper published a story about Lively's allegations.
Do you plan to sue Blake Lively?
Absolutely.
You will?
Yes.
Baldoni claims that the text messages in Lively's lawsuit were taken out of context or excluded. The New York Times said in a statement that they stand by their reporting and plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit. Lively said previously that she hopes her suit helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct.
Then came the next disaster. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, shifted his focus to Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, accusing her of orchestrating the entire ordeal to protect Lively's image. According to Friedman, Sloan wasn't just handling PR, she was actively working to frame Baldoni as the villain. Naturally, Sloan's attorney fired back, calling the claims absurd and nothing more than a distraction from the real issue. But by this point, the case was no longer about what actually happened. It had morphed into a full-blown battle of narratives.
This was a sinister PR move. Blake Lively then moved 11 days later to file a lawsuit. So now she has filed a lawsuit. And I don't think she ever wanted to do this. I think she genuinely wanted this to be a PR move. And she wanted to leak it to the New York Times. She thought the public would take her side with no questions asked. And instead, the public is saying, no, we have a few questions here. And Justin Baldoni is going all the way to the wall on this. His lawyer is already giving interviews explaining just how nasty her team has played this. The lawyer's name is Brian Friedman. He stopped by the Megyn Kelly show. And here's some of the things that he had to say. First, he says there used to never be a sexual claim. There never was a sexual claim until she went to that civil rights office. Take a listen.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed.
Then Friedman decided to raise the stakes. He released behind-the-scenes footage from the movie, claiming it completely debunked Lively's accusations. And as if that wasn't enough, he announced plans to launch a website packed with even more evidence to support his client. Lively's lawyers scrambled to respond, accusing Friedman of distorting facts and manipulating public opinion before the trial even began. In a desperate move, they filed a court letter requesting a hearing to silence him, arguing that his public statements could taint the jury pool and jeopardize the trial.
Last week, it was reported that Blake Lively was being sued again, this time by Jed Wallace, who, like I said, owns the crisis PR firm Street Relations, Inc. Now, not much is really known about Jed Wallace, other than what Lively alleged about him in her California Civil Rights Department complaint, or her CRD complaint. Reports about Wallace's lawsuit were combined with questions by journalism outlets asking, basically, who is this guy anyway? And that will be important to remember for later on in this video. But in her CRD complaint, Lively named Wallace as one of the defendants for her 10 causes of action. And she specifically alleged that Jed Wallace was a subcontractor hired by Baldoni's PR team to weaponize, quote, a digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums, unquote. However, if you then look at the lawsuit that Lively filed in New York federal court, the one she actually filed, Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc. were no longer named as defendants, although Lively still does allege all the same things about him weaponizing a digital army and whatnot. And now Wallace filed a complaint in Texas federal court, which alleges 2 main causes of action. First, it asks for declaratory judgment under the Federal Declaratory Judgment Act.
Judge Les Lyman was clearly unimpressed with how both sides were handling the case. He issued a stern warning. If the legal teams didn't put an end to their public mudslinging, he might move the trial date up to prevent them from swaying the raw jury. In other words, act like professionals, or this case is speeding full throttle to court.
Lively lawsuit. Well, they're going to make a lot of money, some of those lawyers, I'll say that. Hi, my name is Nigel Burns, and I'm a trial lawyer in Southern California. Well, it's early days for what is actually going to happen with these lawsuits. What we do know is in December 24, Blake Lively filed a complaint with the California Commission, and then New York Times published an article, and Justin Baldoni ended up suing the New York Times for $250 million, and then filed a defamation lawsuit, etc., against Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, who is no longer the most popular man on the planet, and their publicist. What I would say would be a strong case, just objectively from what I know, is the case against the New York Times, because it does appear that they published an article without verifying hardly any of it. And that's, maybe acceptable in the National Enquirer, etc. But on a, publication like the New York Times, that could very well be defamation. But the trial is going to be March 2026.
And where was Lively in all of this? While her legal team scrambled to clean up their mess, she was making headlines for an entirely different reason. Stepping onto the red carpet at the South by Southwest Festival in a striking pink latex outfit. With a radiant smile, she chatted about her excitement for another simple favor, giving the impression that everything was perfectly fine. It was a bold move, considering her legal battle was spiraling out of control behind the scenes.
Ask for declaratory judgment if they feel that they're under threat of litigation by another party who may or may not try to sue and may or may not try to maybe take advantage of that ambiguity somehow. So here, what Wallace is saying is Lively has accused the plaintiffs here of 10 different causes of action, and he would like a judge to actually look at the evidence and decide that no, Wallace and Street Relations Inc. aren't liable for any of this. So he's essentially affirmatively bringing that lawsuit onto himself so that he can disprove it. And that's the first claim in a nutshell. The second claim is defamation. It basically says Lively falsely stated that Wallace and Street Relations Inc. engaged in 10 illegal acts under state and federal law, and that they're entitled to compensation as a result. So now, setting aside the declaratory judgment piece, I want to focus on the defamation part because all of Lively's alleged defamatory statements, both in this lawsuit and in Baldoni's lawsuit against Lively, arise out of that CRD complaint.
But the chaos didn't stop there. Baldoni's lawyers pulled even more celebrities into the fray. This time, Hugh Jackman, a close friend of Lively and Reynolds, suddenly found himself caught in the crossfire as Baldoni's team pushed to question him. Then came the conspiracy theories. Baldoni's legal team began scrutinizing the Deadpool movie, speculating that a character named Nice Pool was actually a hidden jab at their client. Yes, the case had now reached the point where superhero movie scripts were being analyzed for secret messages.
During the 2023 writer's strike, Baldoni started editing the footage that had already been shot. But that's when Lively apparently expressed a strong interest in accessing the raw and daily, usually unshared with the cast, according to Baldoni. But Lively apparently also wanted to have a hand in the editing process, and the text from her appears to read, "Hey, would you mind giving me access to the dailies? I appreciate you may be too slammed right now to make this happen, but maybe someone else can facilitate." Just to put a point on this, dailies are a critical point of the filmmaking process, the editing process. The actors don't typically get access to them. If they do, it's usually rare, requires special permission. But here, Lively allegedly repeatedly pushed for access to this because it was evidenced by her follow-up text in July of 2023 that reads, "Please let me know who to reach out to get access to the full gallery of dailies. I'm so looking forward to seeing all that we have in the can." This request allegedly raised some concern among the film's crew. The producer and the CEO of Wayfarer Studios, Jamie Heath, are reportedly shown to be against granting Lively access to the dailies because the messages from the lawsuit reveal their apparent resistance to the idea. There's one that says, "I'd say no, but check her contract first." That's what one producer says. And then a response, supposedly from Heath, says, "It's an absolute no from me as well." This series of texts shows that while Lively seemed to be involved and invested in the production, she was also seen by some crew members as trying to maybe overstep professional boundaries, particularly when it comes to the editing process. Baldoni argues that Lively's attempts to control these aspects of the film, like the editing and the wardrobe choices, were part of a broader strategy to manipulate him and assert her power and dominance over this project. And this is where things get even more interesting.
With everything unfolding, it's clear this trial is only going to get even more chaotic. The judge's warning was a rare moment of sanity in an otherwise absurd legal circus, but whether anyone will actually heed it is another story. At this point, it's no longer just about who's right or wrong. It's about who can outmaneuver the other, both in the courtroom and in the court of public opinion.
It's really destroying Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's image, bro.
What happened? It all revolves around like fake allegations towards Justin Baldoni, right? So Blake Lively's claiming that there were sexual assault allegations towards Justin Baldoni, and Justin's like, "I have all the receipts, I have all the videos." So it's just a lot of drama.
Do you think this is fake beef like Drake and Kendrick?
No, because I think that for either one of them, this is like detrimental to their career. You know what I mean?
But it ends with us. I want to make this very clear. Ryan Reynolds, if you get past this clip of us talking about your relationship, just know, I don't care. I still love you, man. I love your movies. I love everything you did.
I actually hope things get so complicated and terrible for you guys that you guys break up and then I slide into Blake Lively's life. That's what I hope.
The courtroom battle only intensified as both sides dug in their heels. Baldoni's legal team doubled down on their claims, insisting that Lively and her inner circle had orchestrated a calculated smear campaign against him. They pointed to the conveniently timed media leaks and social media narratives that cast Baldoni as the villain, arguing it was all part of a carefully crafted strategy. Meanwhile, Lively's lawyers fought to steer the conversation back to the original accusations, but every time they made a move, Baldoni's team was ready with a counter.
Just when people thought Justin Baldoni was finally the bad guy, Blake Lively proved she will always be the bad guy. Justin Baldoni just released a piece of the puzzle that will destroy Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Colleen Hoover, Taylor Swift, the New York Times. He's killing 5 birds with 1 stone, and they're all getting exposed as liars. So grab your florals and buckle up for all this tea. Throughout this whole campaign, the public has been pretty sternly on Team Justin, but after Justin put out a voicemail that he sent to Blake Lively at 2 a.m. talking about a baby on her boob and He can't wait to spend more time with her. Their chemistry is amazing. People thought maybe we should be on Team Blake.
I'm going to stop rambling because Jesus Christ, it's been 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So, fuck me. I'm sorry. You probably have kids all over you and a baby on your boob, and you're listening to me ramble at 2 a.m. I can't wait to spend more time with you. Oh,
Blake and Ryan Reynolds were getting bothered by him releasing so much that they asked a judge to put a gag order on Justin to shut him up because they were gagged. Their lawyer said that Justin has further made it clear that his priority is completely torpedoing Blake Lively's career for the rest of her life. And this could actually all be over in 3 days because Blake and Ryan just asked a judge to dismiss this whole court case because they are trying anything to get this to stop because it's ruining their career.
Then came another major blunder from Lively's legal team. In a desperate attempt to strengthen their case, they presented a series of emails between Lively and her co-stars. But instead of bolstering their argument, the emails only raised more questions. Some messages appeared to contradict Lively's previous statements, handing Baldoni's lawyers even more ammunition. Social media wasted no time dissecting every word, turning what was meant to be private communication into yet another public spectacle.
December 21st, winter solstice 2024. The New York Times published a story titled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." In a related video, they shared the video featuring New York Times journalist Megan Twohey, who co-wrote the article along with Mike McIntyre and Julie Tate, purporting to tell the world what really happened. Specifically, that the Wayfair parties orchestrated a retaliatory campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Baldoni and Heath engaged in misconduct while shooting the film. The article and video echoed and compounded the baseless accusations made by Lively and her co-defendants, the Lively parties, about the Wayfair parties and falsely accused them of having waged a smear campaign. So we know all of this all right. This is just a summary to catch people up to the story. But that is not what the New York Times did. It admittedly based its article and video on its reporter's review of thousands of pages of documents and expressly credited Lively's claims, framing them as having been verified by the New York Times' own investigation.
Meanwhile, Baldoni wasn't staying silent. He took a more aggressive approach, bringing in a high-profile crisis manager to shape the media narrative. Within days, articles began surfacing that framed him as the real victim, with some reports even claiming he had lost major deals due to the controversy, shifting public sympathy in his favor. Now, Lively's team faced yet another problem. Not only were they losing ground in court, but they were also losing the PR battle.
Salacious article well before Twohey contacted the Wayfair parties the night before publication for quote-unquote fact-checking. After the New York Times' months of plotting with the Lively parties, the Wayfair parties got hours to respond. The New York Times complains of group pleading, claiming it cannot tell the allegations against it from those against its co-conspirators. Of course, it is premature to require the Wayfair parties to specify the acts taken by the New York Times in connection with its scheme with the Lively parties. A jury will determine the truth based on the evidence, but the Wayfair parties' allegations are clear. The New York Times argues New York bars 2 California tort claims, but as the Wayfair parties suffered damages in California, where nearly all make their personal and professional homes, they may bring claims under the law of California, which has a strong interest in protecting its citizens.
A former crew member from It Ends With Us stepped forward with their own account of events, but instead of supporting Lively, they backed Baldoni's claims. According to them, the set wasn't the toxic environment Lively described, and they accused her of exaggerating the situation to tarnish Baldoni's reputation. This was a major blow to Lively's case, and her legal team scrambled to discredit the new witness before their testimony could do even more damage. At this point, Lively's lawyers have one job: stop making things worse. Instead of focusing on the case, they're stuck playing defense against their own missteps. If they don't get it together soon, Lively could find herself fighting a legal war on 2 fronts, against Baldoni and against the very team meant to help her win.